Shona, you guys got to come closer in here? Yeah. He's going to stand behind...
Relax, sorry, where did I go? Alright. Relax. You're okay.
Okay, the minister has a couple of minutes for questions.
So, Shona, sorry, I'm trying to recognise everybody behind their masks. So, Tony, do you want to?
Yeah, Minister, what was the general mood around the table this morning on the Brexit discussion?
Well, I think the message from Michel Barnier and Maroš Šefčovič is very clear that the EU will remain calm, firm, and realistic in terms of trying to negotiations. Undoubtedly, there is disappointment across the European Union in the UK in terms of what's happened over the last 2 weeks. The bringing forward of legislation to deliberately undermine an international agreement with the EU has caused a lot of concern. It has damaged trust and relationships in the context of this negotiation. And I think that's very regrettable. But I also think there remains a very strong focus on the bigger picture for the EU, which is the future relationship between the EU and the UK. We should be partners in the future, both politically and economically, if separate. And so certainly the trust and the confidence in our negotiators remains as strong as ever. And the message is very clear. The EU wants a deal, but it wants a deal in terms of implementation that is consistent with the withdrawal agreement and the protocol on Ireland and Northern Ireland. And it wants a future relationship that can allow the EU and the UK to work together as friends in the future. And that means trying to get a basic trade deal that avoids tariffs and quotas. And it involves other issues as well as a basis for that. A level playing field in terms of fair competition, a governance structure that can deal with disputes in the future, an agreement on fisheries that both sides can live with, that is fair. These are necessary foundation stones, if you like, for a trade deal, which I think certainly the EU wants. And what has been concerning over the last couple of days for me, from speaking to other EU foreign ministers, is that there's a growing sense that perhaps the UK doesn't want a deal, and that this is more about managing the blame game as the negotiations fail. And I have reassured them very clearly that, in my view, that is not the case. I believe the Prime Minister and the British government do want a deal, even though they are behaving in a strange way to get that done in terms of the legislation coming through Westminster at the moment. But having said all that, there is a bigger picture here that I hope both sides will see. Certainly the EU sees it. And Michel Barnier travels to London for the next couple of days for meetings that I think will be low-key but important. And we will have another formal round of negotiation in Brussels next week, which I hope can make progress. And then on the implementation of the Northern Ireland Protocol and the withdrawal agreement, there is a meeting of the Joint Committee on Monday now. It had previously been on Friday, but there's a European Council meeting on Friday, so it was felt that was a distraction that wasn't needed. And so they'll now meet on Monday. But again, I think there will be some advanced meetings before that to try to make some progress on the outstanding issues.
Did you get the sense from your colleagues that a deal will be harder now because of the internal market bill, because the bar of trust and confidence has been raised by that?
Well, I mean, we've wasted 2 weeks for a start. Everybody's talking about legislation coming through Westminster. Many people are pretty shocked by what the British government are doing, because people see the United Kingdom as, in many ways, the standard bearer of international law, of a government that keeps its word, and when it signs a deal, it follows through on that. And so I think people have been very taken aback by a deliberate strategy coming from the British government that goes against all of the expectations of Britain internationally. And I've said many times that I think this is very damaging to Britain's reputation outside of the bubble of Brexit discussions. But that being said, I still think that there is a very strong mood of wanting to find solutions. But undoubtedly, the tactics of the British government has made what was already a very challenging and complex negotiation even more difficult. I think they'll react as they have done, which is to express real concern at what the British government is proposing to do. I think there is a window there, though, between when this legislation moves from the Commons into the Lords. There's likely to be a break of a number of weeks between the Commons consideration and the Lords consideration of this legislation, and I think that is a window that all of us should look to as an opportunity to make progress. Because if we can deal with the issues that the legislation proposes to deal with in the absence of agreement, then it makes that legislation irrelevant, effectively. I don't believe that the EU will negotiate on issues that allows the legislation coming through Westminster to be used as a negotiating currency. They are largely, I think, deciding to try to move beyond what's happening in Westminster and focus on outstanding issues. And I think that's a very sensible strategy. I mean, there will, of course, if the legislation continues, there will be a legal response from the European Union, I expect, in terms of the breaching of an international treaty. But I don't think we should focus on legal challenges, quite frankly. I think we should be focusing on outstanding issues in these negotiations so that we can try to get a deal that both sides can live with.
Can the legal action go on in parallel to...
Sorry?
Can the legal action go on in parallel without influencing?
I'm sure it could. Just like the legislation continues in some ways through the House of Commons in parallel to what I hope can be constructive discussions tomorrow in London. So the British government has decided to continue with this legislation. I think people know what I think about the legislation and its impact on Britain's reputation, which I think is regrettable, to put it mildly. But having said all that, certainly my meetings yesterday and today and the GAC meeting today is very much focused on trying to put that distraction of the legislation and the disappointment at the approach of the British government to one side and instead to focus on outstanding issues, and we know what they are. In order for us to make progress on a future relationship agreement that can result in a limited trade deal, there needs to be progress on the level playing field issue to make sure that there's fair competition between these two big markets. There needs to be a governance model that can ensure that disputes can be resolved independently and fairly in the future if people don't follow through on their commitments. There needs to be an agreement on fisheries, because if we don't have agreement on fisheries, we are going to have extraordinary uncertainty in the fishing industry, both in the UK and across the EU, and so that needs to be done. And that was agreed in the political declaration previously by both sides. So we're focused on trying to find a way of progressing the issues that are outstanding. On the Northern Ireland Protocol, there are 3 issues outstanding, which seem to be the focus of the Internal Market Bill in Westminster. I believe all 3 of those issues are resolvable through negotiation. In truth, 2 of the 3 issues, if there is a future relationship agreement on trade, will become far less contentious, if contentious at all, quite frankly, in the context of implementing the Northern Irish Protocol. And the 3rd issue, which is about export declarations, in my view, can be resolved through negotiation. So there is a pathway to achieving a deal if both sides want to pursue that. But that has got to happen through negotiation and rebuilding some of the trust that has been very badly damaged in the last 10 days or so.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers.